I'm going to take a deep breath and just let out all the fucking bullshit, you guys. I'm serious. And just pause. That stillness after the last breath, that's when you enter the present. And that is something that is so important in witchcraft, which we're going to talk about today. How I see it psychologically, how sometimes I feel people embrace too much on the mysticism aspect, and what it means to me to see energy. Because I feel like lately we've been talking too much about the world, and I'm getting too grounded into it, and it's time to get back to reality. So witchcraft is mostly psychological, simply because our psychology really manipulates our reality. The way that we perceive things is subjective at times. You might see something as offensive that I might find humorous, or vice versa. And when we expand our energy, and what I mean by that, making our presence known without needing to be the loudest person in the room, but just existing and being comfortable, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. That's how we expand. We were able to be ourselves. We take up energy, and we utilize more resources as a result, and we're able to align our reality with what we want. How we feel is what our reality is. And witchcraft is mostly about us, what's within. Our tools are very important because they can help us focus psychologically on something we're trying to achieve, because we're the ones that help cleanse the energy. We're the ones that help repel negativity. We're the ones that maneuver that energy. We transmutate it. We dispel of it. And these tools, like my selenite moon that I use to cleanse my earrings, I wear like crystal chip earrings at times. It feels like it's cleansed because it looks like it, and it has that energy to it. So even though everything has energy under a microscope, and this is going to have its own unknown energies, it's not the predominant compared to how we utilize it and how we see it. It's still going to cleanse whether we believe it or not. But so many times we gravitate too much on the tools and not enough within ourselves. And I think that's because of capitalism, in all honesty. I see that too much. And I love shopping in crystals and handmade things. And I have been very fucking guilty of like buying crystals from Ross, or buying from a source that might not be reputable, not trying to, but just kind of ignoring the problem with everything, We can definitely go down that rabbit hole. But the more that I complicate my spiritual practice, the more I'm simplifying my craft. The more I'm understanding that the plants around me, they work. I just have to ask them to. I have to communicate with my garden. I have to connect with deity. Like Prince Stolas is wonderful to work with in terms of gardening. And you will see things just really flourish, and you'll have resources like literally given to you. Like without needing to even buy them. So when you start to understand yourself, that you are the power, and we understand our power by healing. I really do believe that shadow work is really important in terms of understanding and coming into power of who we are. People argue that, and I understand other people's perspectives. You don't have to have a traumatized life to do witchcraft. You don't have to, have all this pain. It's okay if you had a very easy life. It's okay if you've never experienced those things. But just understand what you are. Don't let that, understand that there's a consequence to that too. And that consequence is you're going to have to find balance and not let your ego get the best of you. Because I see that a lot too in the spiritual community, in the witchcraft community, for people who, market themselves with these really great lives, and they have all these wonderful crystals and beautiful things, and they're more about like, look what I am, and listening to themselves talk, And I've been guilty of listening to myself fucking talk sometimes, because sometimes the wisdom comes out and I'm like, fuck, bitch, I needed this shit, you know? But if you are so caught up on hearing yourself speak, it's just the energy's very hard and it's very heavy and dense, and I can feel it, you know? That blocks us from real expansion, because of witchcraft. I see Earth and I see this human experience as precious, but I also see it as like a side quest, if that makes sense. I don't hold on to every single little detail that I need to experience this little convenience over and over again or anything. I have things that I like to experience, repetitively. Like I like chocolate. I'm not gonna like, oh fucking, I've had it, I never have to have it before I am expanded. No, bitch. I like chocolate, okay? It's okay to like things. You don't need to be so ritualistic with the way you see things either. You need to just kind of be free with it and be okay. But witchcraft helps me. It's utilizing the tools on this plane that I don't feel familiar with. I've never felt like I'm from Earth, and I'm not a fucking trans alien shish kebab or whatever stupid shit the radical left are saying. I just have never felt like we're human beings. I feel like this is just the best kind of like mech that we can try to understand each other with, that it just makes sense, right? Like I feel like we can take on many forms, and I feel like I'm here, I have to take care of myself, and I have to also enjoy myself, and I get to communicate through emotions and through sensations with other human beings and with my surroundings. So I don't see the value in a price tag anymore, because first of all, COVID just fucked us all up, and now we see the truth. And that was in alliance with me getting finally in touch with demonology, because it's been just chasing me my entire life, and I've understood myself more as a witch because of it. I used to be very material with witchcraft until I got into the path of demonology, because I was secular personally. And I think that it's needed. I think people who are atheistic, people who are monotheistic and polytheistic, I think we're all just trying to figure this out. We feel aligned with that because maybe that's what we wanted. Maybe that's just important. We're like, researching. And then we fight about it, which causes some sort of conflict or some sort of like resolution to this question: who the fuck are we? What's the truth? I think there's a multitude of truths. And witchcraft helps me kind of cope with being here on Earth. But at the same time, understand that it's okay for certain things, I think, for myself. But it's also, you don't want to be too codependent on your crystals, on your sachets, on your routines. I'm not very ritualistic with my routines. There's things I do, but I was very codependent, even during this huge move that I made, on things, on my stuff. I had to get rid of everything when I moved from California to Australia, and that was very hard for me. And then having that stuff like rebuild your life, your signature rebuild, you become even more codependent. So I've just learned really to kind of vibe with the earth, like vibe with nature, because you are part of nature. Nature's here to communicate with you. We have medicine on this plane. We have a lot of really great things to research and discover, like really great yummy food because of us. You are the power. Everything that we have done and everything we've fucked up, it's because of our minds. So witchcraft to me is utilizing these resources that come from this earth and understanding them. Azazel taught us that. He taught us about magic, about the psychology, and they mentioned crystals. And Prince Stolas too, his energy's been kind of prominent today. Knows a lot about crystals. So I get these sort of visions that they were just teachers. They were in a humanoid form, and they were teaching us, and we wanted to understand ourselves. We didn't want to be enslaved to this false god. We didn't want to be that totally utilizes witchcraft and ceremonial magic, like in Catholicism and Judaism. Like, hello, once you get deep and once you dive into this, witchcraft doesn't seem woo anymore. I forget sometimes that people don't believe in it because it's so fucking ridiculous to me not to, because it precisely works. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts of it. It absolutely works. And I know when it's not going to work. I know when I do a spell and the outcome's not going to be in my favor and I'm forcing it, because I've already made that decision in my head. or I am understanding the reality of other people's decisions around me, you know? And you learn a lot about that. You learn that with witchcraft, you can cope with this reality, not always have to hide from it. Sometimes we need to go into hiding. We need to go into hibernation. We need to cut people out. We need to say, no, I can't go out this weekend, or say no to our kids, or whatever it is, right? And just kind of go away and take some time to ourselves. We have to regenerate. We have to rest. We are like reprogrammed into hustle culture. And witchcraft has really helped me get out of that, because I am a workaholic. I love to work because I felt, being from California and always having things that were always so expensive to manage, since I was very, very young, it's kind of like indoctrinated into me. Like, I can't stand the idea of not contributing. I feel a lot of pressure, to do so. And having, first of all, a very supportive partner that helps you not feel the need to do that, and then getting in touch with your spiritual self again, which was lost when I was in hustle culture. For like 5 years, I didn't practice witchcraft. I knew all about it. It was second nature. I did some things still, but I totally just flew off the radar, and it bugged me. It was nagging at me the whole time, and I was becoming reprogrammed into the system. And COVID, for a lot of people, clocked that into place. For me, it was a couple years before COVID, but COVID really fucking opened something. And getting back in touch with the things that are familiar to you, you'll understand as well that a lot of you have been doing this in past lives. A lot of you who feel drawn to witchcraft, you have been drawn to it, and it's not you don't need to sensationalize it either. We have to stop doing that, in my opinion. It's okay if you come from a lineage of witches, or you have this sort of ancestry, or you have royal blood, or it just does not matter. It's like, you got to have those experiences. Now you're here. Like, it just, imagine, because some of you are fucking royalty. I can see people that were kings and queens in past lives, the way they carry themselves, and they know that they know. And it's not even about the glamour and the glitz that we all love, that we get really charmed by. It's the way we hold and carry our power. You know that we've come from somewhere. There's a lot of people I talk to because of these platforms that I feel like I know them from another lifetime. We're just reconnecting. And magic will help you remember that. Witchcraft will. It's these tools here on earth are saying, here, use us, and we're going to guide you through this fucking horrific simulation, whatever you want to call it, because it kind of is. You don't have to sensationalize that either in a way that's like very high tech and modern and sci-fi. You can see it in a way where we are. What happens when we die? We go somewhere else. This is just and when you realize that, you can do so much magic. Like, the fucking stresses of life and the bills and shit, they just kind of become not as important. Don't get it fucking twisted, guys. I still have fucking bills that bounce around, and I gotta manage shit. Like, I'm not saying, okay, everybody, like, from some middle-class privileged state. Like, no. The universe forced me to get my shit together because my old lifestyle was not affordable anymore. So I have to do different in order to just make the most of the situation, and it was the best thing for me. And I'm out in nature more. I'm out, making medicine and crafting, and you don't have to, be able to stay at home like me. I know I have an opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm also not legally allowed to work here in the country I'm in, and COVID fucked up my visa process. So the universe forced me to realign and figure out who I am. And yes, so I do get to spend slow mornings sometimes out, harvesting tree bark from my new magnolia tree and getting to know it more. That's not a reality for a lot of people. I fucking know that firsthand. But what I do know is, if you can just buy yourself some flowers, if you can just grow one little plant, if you can do one little thing to get back in touch, you will see that it'll start to become easy. Like, with a basil plant, if you just propagate some from the grocery store, put it in water, look up a couple videos on propagating it, and you'll have a basil plant. It'll start to root, and then you can have a basil plant, and it'll reseed, and the next generation will be stronger, and you'll get to know it. Like, I have fourth generation basil for common basil variety, and it's so hardy, and now it's climatizing to my new home. And when you learn about that with plants, you understand, gosh, this is magic. There's movement here. You're not just growing a basil plant. There's movement, there's fucking geometry involved in this, and I'm part of that. So I know I sound high as fuck, by the way, because I kind of am, but I've just been really in touch with myself in this equilibrium that is unfamiliar still for me, where I'm grounded, but I'm very spiritually involved, because I feel like I've struggled with being the complete opposite at times. I think a lot of people have. But witchcraft helps with that. And if you are into demonology, which I am, and it's once you deprogram from Abrahamic indoctrination, you will understand that demons are not evil. They're very neutral, and your path is not hard because horrific things are going to happen to you. It's hard because you're going to have to navigate the realities of life, and you're going to have to understand that shit's going to just land on your lap, right? But if you do commune with demons, King Belial is amazing to work with in terms of witchcraft. I've learned a lot from him and from Hecate, who is not a demon necessarily, but their versions of witchcraft are so different. Where Belial, his witchcraft, if he tells you, a tiger's eye is very grounding, he really likes grounding things because he's an earth demon. You're going to read between the lines of that tiger's eye and understand the intricacy of energies between those shades of brown and amber. And why that, then you learn about that. You're going to learn about that crystal. You're going to learn about the blueprint, the science of it, and he shows you in those ways that's very masculine in a way that's like, the way that men think. I can't think of the word. Women, we're very like spaghetti. There's a term called spaghetti and waffles, where women, we are spaghetti and we're all over the place, and men are like waffles. They have like little compartments for different things, and they're isolated. Belial teaches me how to see witchcraft and energy in that way. Where Hecate, she is very, very dominantly emotional at times, but in control of her emotions, and she teaches you to see those energies within plants and within nature, within wildlife especially, she with living creatures as well, not just like, using bones and in very respectful manners of witchcraft and all these different things that we can get into another time. But she teaches more the nurturing. I feel very much like a mother because of her influence. Because I've had to really try to figure out what I need to do to be a mom. For like 20 years now, I've been stressed out, freaking out that I'm failing fucking miserably and putting way too much pressure on myself. And transitioning my life, all of us going through a huge spiritual transition, and having kids that are transitioning into new areas of their life, and all of this movement has been very jarring for a lot of people, not just myself. Like, I think everybody that I know went through some fucking shit, like from 2015, 2016 up until COVID was insane. And it just causes a lot of movement, and that movement was needed. It was astrologically in the charts to happen, and you learn how to cope with that. And I think a lot of us became spiritually awoken or reawoken because we needed to. We needed these resources. We need a lot of people in witchcraft. We need these fucking resources to help us like hold on tight for this change, because we're also going through a huge shift in humanity. And I know I'm ping-ponging off topics, but it's kind of like having some safety gear. And it's not that you need to emotionally attach to your crystals. Like I said, some things I think are safe to emotionally attach to if they have sentiment, for sure. But at the same time, it's almost like understanding that you're coexisting together. It sounds crazy as fuck, but like you're helping out this crystal and it's helping you out right now. And you exchange that sort of energy and you become in tune with nature, very much so. I'm in tune with a lot of fucking animals. It freaks people out. Like, I do with plants too. I talk to my plants, and that's been like scientifically proven for a multitude of reasons to improve their health, right? However, it also helps me understand that plant more. I know what it needs. Like it's like they're talking to me, and that's what we are in our natural state. That's what we are in our spiritual state. For those of you who have astral experiences or lucid dreams, a lot of the times you don't need to talk. There's no, first language translation. Whatever your first language is, there's no translation in that. It's just, you can kind of understand. Like, I have those experiences with Belial on the astral plane, and people think, you're fucking lying. I don't give a fuck. Listen, do a fucking brain scan, bitches, okay? Like, if they're just all in my imagination and there's no fucking need for all of this, then I guess that's what it is. It's just a one big, really cool show that I can talk about. But when I'm on that astral plane, because it feels just as real as me having this conversation with you, just as real as you are wherever you're sitting right now, and the memory that you just had, we just kind of communicate like that. I don't need to say anything. Words don't need to be exchanged. Even body language doesn't need to be exchanged. You can understand like 4 paragraphs at once. And I think that's why a lot of people who are neurodivergent struggle with that, because your thoughts are fucking racing like too much, right? Like, I have ADHD, and I get fucking shit because I'm called an ableist, because they say, fuck you, stop using it as an excuse and take one step at a time and you'll get there. And like, people don't like that, and I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Well, your version's different than mine. It's not fucking gonna change. You have to do it. It's just a fucking bigger mud puddle you're gonna have to jump over, or learn how to swim in, or fucking comfortably sink in. I don't know what to tell you, But the fact of the matter is my brain is just on fire nonstop since the goddamn day I've been born. And I can't even talk as much as I think, like as quickly as I think. And when I am on the astral plane, I feel like I can just all of that within a fraction of a second, and it's out of my system, and whoever I'm communing with fucking comprehends and sends the message, and that's it. And it's like how our bodies work, when we have motor skills that we have to develop. If you play an instrument, if you play the trumpet or something like that, you are going to have that sort of coordination, like by heart. You don't have to think about where your hands are going to go. You don't have to do that. I would assume if you're performing surgery, but I'm probably not the fucking right person to have that conversation with. But I would imagine that you have to do a lot at once, and it's got to be precise, and you got to pay the fuck attention to all of it, and you start to understand where you're going. So I know that sounds like a lot, but having these sorts of tools in our environment helps us stay grounded. If you go outside when you feel like you're anxious or you're really, really just rambling, stand outside on the dirt or on the grass, like without any shoes on. And not only is that good for your immune system, it's really good for your blood pressure, but it grounds you. It drains all of that out, and then you'll kind of recharge. And when you do that and you're conscious about it, and you're seeing that energy like leave your body, the anxiousness, and it like transmutate into the earth, you'll understand the earth more. You'll understand your grass more, and you'll know that you can handle your shit a lot better. Because life is hard to cope with for a multitude of reasons. And there's a bunch of people in power just making it a lot fucking more complicated than it really needs to be. And when we understand that, we can get back to being what we're supposed to be. It's okay to be all up in the matrix. It's okay to eat fast food. It's okay to do all these things. It's not okay to be in denial of the reality of all that shit. And it's not okay for us to have to live this life that we're not happy with and need that in order to cope. That's my whole point, because I just wanted to say that as a side note, because I understand some people will get offended when I say that sort of shit, because I'm a homesteader and I change my lifestyle and shit, and I'm never trying to be annoying about it. I really need to make that clear. Like, I tell my kids all the time, go eat some fucking Happy Meals or whatever the fuck you need to do to have some experience. That would be like me being a boomer saying, no sex, drugs, and rock and roll for you kiddos, but they sure as hell fucking didn't have a problem doing that when they were like basking in their fucking nepotism during the hippie era, like that would be wrong of me to do to my kids. I'm not going to repeat those patterns that other people do. So I know it sounds off topic, but it feels in alliance with everything. It's really important that we kind of just be okay with what's going on. We don't need to be all natural. We don't need to fucking hate nature either. We need to kind of understand everything. Understand that your synthetic fucking house that's probably made out of like plastic version of paper mache and cost, $800,000 for some reason, right? just understand that's alchemy. You know what I mean? And it's just a poor fucking job of alchemy. It's a poor example of that, because there are weak spells. There's weak magic. There is weak science. There is weak medicine. So when we start to kind of accept that, we start to desensationalize witchcraft and understand what it is, and it helps free that gunk in our mind, and then we're able to get our spell work done more precisely. I've really learned that with my path in the past couple of years, that if we're not so drawn to the crystal, if we're not so drawn to the spell jar, so drawn to, you know, this, and we just see it as a vessel for these representations of energy that we want to manifest into our environment, you'll see it as that. So, yeah, I think it's really great to collect energy. I think that it's great to collect different stones and sticks and find what's in your environment. I've been having, and I'm just wanting to say that because, like, people don't have a lot of money right now to go buy a $400 fucking crystal wand. Because listen, in the 90s, crystals were so goddamn cheap, you guys. Like, for those of you who are new to this sort of stuff or you're younger, fucking crystals were so goddamn cheap. I used to go to Arizona and New Mexico all the time and get, like, you know, 4 amethysts for $1 and then 4 pyrite, and I collected them when I was a kid, and tiger's eye, and I would have like tons, and they were like super duper cheap, and now they're like $4 fucking dollars each for a tumbled stone here in Australia, at least, because it's absolutely ridiculous. And these bitches are just buying them from Temu too, and reselling them. So what I've been doing is I have been shopping less for my tools, and I have been trying to find them more in my environment. And I have. When I first moved here, I found a whole little container of just a ton of quartz crystals that were really clean. And I was really excited about that because there's a lot of rocks, and I've been cleaning up a lot. There's just a lot to do here. And I've been finding all kinds of interesting plants, and they're just weeds, but once you identify them, you know that they're used for magic or you're used for this, and you connect with them. And you know, I like to propagate them if I like how they look and have a new plant. Like, now I get 2 plants. How amazing that is that we can do that, that if we understand those plants that can help us protect and have that protective energy around our home, we can actually like double that. We can put in the energy of the work of learning about the plant and gardening a bit or whatever it is that you're doing, and create 2. And then now you have manifested this new plant that helps with the protective energies. And before we get into that, I wanted to say something real quick, because I got a lot of shit from a couple people about a video that I made where I was talking about onion peels being used for protection. I did not say that they're used for fucking home defense, okay? I am not saying burning an onion peel when there's a goddamn fucking dude in your backyard with a gun is gonna be the answer to things. You better fucking shoot or be shot. I don't know what to tell you. If you feel the need to call the police first, and you think they're going to come and save you, it depends on who you are and where the fuck you is, because it is, you're taking a gamble in a lot of places of the world right now. But just stay safe out there, okay? I needed to just make that clear. I never intended, and I really did misword it, that an onion peel being burnt isn't like home defense. It's giving this sort of protective aura because I haven't been broken into. You know, it's giving this protective energy of reminding you to be aware of your surroundings, to always like cleanse your house and see what the fuck's on that one side of your yard you forgot about, or whatever the case is. Like, that is how magic helps us. I'm not burning an onion peel when some fucking dude's leveling up to me in my living room at 12 fucking o'clock in the morning, okay? Like, I'm gonna shoot his ass or I'm dying. Like, that's it. So I hope you guys understand that. Like, it's not, but you really don't have to worry a lot about that either. I don't have to have that in my environment. For one, I'm in one of the safest countries in the world. And 2, I am in a very, very quiet area. And 3, it just gives me more mental clarity to be aware of my surroundings and have more, you know, means of protection and surveillance around. Like, that's all that means. You kind of understand the new environment and you go, okay, I'm very safe here, but it's fucking too safe. What should we do to make sure it stays this safe? So you got to stay on top of it. It's your energy. It's your energy and being understanding of your surroundings here on this plane. Because it's like a fucking GTA match sometimes. It really is. At least in California, it fucking feels like a real life GTA fucking game. But in all seriousness, it's not about staying safe behind something, you know, because that will backfire. Like, if you protect yourself so much and you're stressed on it all the time, you're going to isolate yourself. If you got lots of tourmaline around and lots of this and lots of wards, you're going to fucking be really protected, sweetheart, okay? You're going to be left alone. And trust me, I love it. Like, I'm telling you, it's fucking great. Like, we go through seasons in our life, and I'm just in that season right now. I'm finishing up this season. But we really do need to take those breathers, you know, but be aware of that, because that does happen. And I understand when people say that witchcraft is pseudoscience, because it's just, you're just saying a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I understand. And you know what, if you took the crystals away and you had the same mental fortitude and the same mental clarity, but we can't in this fucking society with all this, you know, buzzwords going around and fucking bills and shit and dumb shit that literally does not need to be like this, guys. I hope people understand that there are plenty of resources, and it's dirt cheap to fucking run your own power and stuff. Like, when it comes to what the power companies are doing, they're robbing everybody. It doesn't cost that much. Like, we could have fucking finite power here in Australia because of the solar like output. Here we get like almost 18 hours of sunlight. And even Elon Musk, like, I don't have a formal opinion about him, but he offered to pay for the whole power grid here. And the government's like, oh, no, 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 no. And he was like, why? We need 3 miles worth of panels, and nobody in Australia would have to pay for power. But for some reason, I'm still paying fucking $500 a month. So that's what I mean. Like, we have to understand that big stress, they take energy from us. They take our currency, which money is just a fucking fake thing. It's like a number that they decided our time is worth. You know, your employer decided, or the system decided. And it's unfortunate we have to still navigate this. This is the game. And if you feel like it's a game and you feel like you can fucking get out of it, and you start getting fed up with feeling pressure and feeling bad about yourself and feeling like, you know, not confident to be you, it's very hard. I sympathize with people. I'm not sitting here saying, go fucking, come on, guys. Sometimes I want to feel like that, but I remember, you know, my own path, and I remember things I haven't had to struggle with too. You have to make those decisions to step out of that cage. And when you do, witchcraft will help you with that. And it will really, really focus your energy on the things that you want in your environment. But when you do that, when you cast your spell, let go of it. It is gone. If you're holding on to it and thinking about the spell, wondering if it's going to work, you are taking all of that energy that you jarred, and now you're just like putting it back in your head. And the jar is just there going, well, fucking give it back, bitch, and I'll take care of it, and you can go on, but you want to just be selfish. And that's what I see. I'll see like this orb of energy in some sort of like prosperity jar, and me thinking about it because I'm panicking and this and that. You have to let it go. So that's what I do now. Like, I see it as that. Like, I set my spells and I let it go, and I don't have to worry about it. And my husband knows they work. He's all into witchcraft now because of how well it works. He was always very supportive, but just didn't have any opinion. He's like, I think it's cool, but I don't know anything. Now he's like, can you do a spell for me? Can you do, you know, it's really cool. And he does spells too. And he's doing his own thing. And that wasn't forced, that wasn't needed or desired. It just naturally happened. And it's a good example too for you guys to let your life naturally happen. You can't cling on to this sort of orchestrated version that you think would make you feel comfortable. You have to understand that the tools here on earth are to help you navigate it, not just to build you a house to hide away from the world and then not have a life lived. You're here for your experiences. A lot of you want to take from other people. Some of you do want to take from other people. And hey, that means those of us who don't like to take from others are going to have to take back. And it causes growth and expansion. And that's the game we're supposed to be playing. We're not supposed to be fighting over stupid bullshit that's manufactured. We're not supposed to be stressed on debt or I can't afford groceries. Like, I'm gonna say this to somebody who's gonna say gardening is very expensive to get started. I had to scrimp and scrape, and I seed saved, and I did all of this tedious shit, and I wanted to quit all the time. So I am not trying to say it's easy, guys. I understand it's very hard, and I can only imagine if I had a full time job right now doing all this shit. Like, because I've done that. I've had a full time job before. Fuck that shit doing that and this, but you do see when you start to garden how cheap it is to maintain and how much abundance you'll get from one tomato plant and like how many thousands of dollars of tomatoes that you can grow like from a couple plants. And then you start to really wonder, well, why the fuck is it so expensive? And why are my tomatoes better? Well, your tomatoes are plucked when they're green and they're artificially fucking ripened in gas. So that's why they're woody. That's why they're flavorless. That's why they're fucking pink and depressed. And the tomatoes from a garden are juicy and red and sweet, and they're so juicy that they fucking pop. Like, I had a bunch that popped one time. I was like, this fucking is crazy. They were exploding because it rained too much, and I was so pissed off. Oh man, like 70 of them just exploded like fucking grenades, and I was like, man, I was really mad at myself. So, but you realize this value that we put on things is artificial. It's just a power dynamic. And that is how they take from us. They enslave us by taking our energy. Or we have to think about how expensive it is to feed our kids, or how expensive it is to get to school, or how expensive it is to maintain your career. If you're like a model and you have to buy makeup and buy all these things, how expensive that is to get going. Like, it's very expensive to do something meaningful. But what I have learned with my magical practice in the past couple of years, and especially like this past year, is to really find things in your own environment. And you will learn so much about witchcraft doing the mundane. And Hecate's energy comes through with that because the mundane isn't appreciated. And one thing that I'll say about Hecate, she appreciates very simple things. Like, she loves honey, she loves garlic, she loves food. Please let me know in the comments if you made it this far, if you work with Hecate and if she seems like a foodie, because I always get like huge energetic surges when I make cheese, when I make infused honeys, when I offer figs. Like, I feed her, I keep her happy, and I really get like these visions of her just like being a foodie when she roamed the earth, that she like loved to eat. Like, she would have been fucking smoking weed and eating really good simple food and like laughing, and she probably could like drink everybody under the table. I think she was one of those girls. I get that energetic signature from her, but she's like that with witchcraft as well. Like, anytime she helps me come up with a spell or come up with something, if I want to do a service or if I want to do something for somebody, like, she really simplifies it, but it still ends up very beautiful. And it's cool because that's what a lot of chefs try to achieve. We try to make things very organic and simple and not complicated, because plating, why am I saying it like that? Plating food, when you're a chef, like, you kind of have to figure out what's going to look best and what you're trying to express from the food that you're making. And I struggled a lot with that when I was in school, like with plating. I was just not sure. My food was really good, but I didn't know how to explain that. And the most effective way is to be as simple and natural as possible and let it speak for itself. And she teaches me that with the different energies in the ingredients that I use, or just sticks that I save, because a lot of times when I'm harvesting herbs for tea, I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got one of my apothecaries, and I save the stems for a lot of plants if they're medicinally beneficial, to make infused oils for salves and such, or for witchcraft oils. And she will kind of remind you about those things. Like, don't just discard those things, they have something to them. And then you understand like the value of those simple ingredients. It's really interesting. Like, I know it sounds silly, but like with the basil plant, there are a ton of different varieties of basil. There are some that are blue, there's some that are purple, there's some that crossbreed in your yard and you'll get like a hybrid, and it's just like endless, right? They all feel the same, but they feel different. They feel like family members, like just different energetic signatures. and she'll guide you through that. So, for me, where I am with witchcraft, first of all, you don't need to make everything. You don't need to be a maker like me. Please don't let anybody tell you that you have to. I will say, though, it's very beneficial to try to do those sort of things because you'll learn a lot more about your spell work. But if you buy from other witches, if you buy or use, like, spices from your cabinet, please don't let anybody shame you. Tell them to fuck off because brujeria, you use whatever the hell you have. And there's a lot of witchcraft religions that I'm not a part of, but I know goddamn well that they use what the fuck they've got and they'll make it work. And those are the types of brujas that you want to, like, you don't want to fuck with, but you want to hire if you need help because they have this really aggressive surge. They know and they see and smell the energy and they put it together and throw it really, really hard. So don't let anybody tell you that you have to have this and you got to have that and you got to do this. I could use something like this and it'll work. You can use this to charge your damn moon waters. I use jars and beautiful things sometimes. But I also use my milk jugs because I upcycle a lot of them. I save them because I make tea and stuff for my garden and I make moon water. So I'll have like a bunch of jugs out there because that's my drinking water. Side note on that, I do not recommend moon water, quartz crystal, and lemongrass together. I had that combination one time thinking I'm going to make like an energized sort of water. And I totally forgot about it and I just was drinking lemongrass tea. I was so fucking buzzed up with like anxious energy and I had made that realization later on, like, hey, I did these things earlier. I totally forgot about that. Those sorts of things synchronize into your environment at times and it makes you feel like a bit more reassured that witchcraft is real because a lot of it is our own psychology, which I think is healthy. I don't think that we need to like feel, oh, that's a boring way to look at it. I think that's a really powerful way to look at it because it gives you more power to really control your environment because you're not going to be able to control everything, right? Life's going to happen. We're going to have to go through fires. We're going to have to be afraid of going through them. We're going to have to face things. But you really can navigate this path a lot more gracefully and more empowered, just like the spirits that I commune with because they've gone through hell, literally, and they've learned from that. You get to become the complete opposite of that. And witchcraft helps you along that journey. It helps you understand yourself. It helps you feel free. It helps you feel open. And when people start really attacking you for it, you can just not feel offended as much too once you start to understand they don't get it. Like you don't have to be an ass about it. Don't be a fucking smart ass, okay? Because my ass would have done something like that when I was younger. I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry that you don't get it. I would have said something to piss somebody off if they were like all freaked out and stuff like that. I'm saying when you genuinely feel like you see past it, you see past the bullshit and you're just like, it's really not worth my energy. Because it's just, what's the point? I could, if you want to piss somebody off and take their energy, you could. It sounds boring to me, so it's not interesting. But what is interesting to me about magic, about crystals or herbs or resins, what do I have in here? These are just earrings. I thought I had some dragon's blood in this jar. But we can smell them, sometimes taste them, feel them, and understand them. We're learning about their language with our own senses. And I know it sounds super fucking hippy dippy, but it makes sense, right? And once you accept that, you don't have to be a big old dork about it and be like, oh, it's fucking, I'm just vibing with my residents. Like, just shut the fuck up and you sound stupid. Just like accept it and just have a good day. Like, you don't have to care so much. We don't have to, it's all fucking hocus pocus and shit, and it's not necessary. You just need to relax and take a deep breath and chill the fuck out. And just do some spells and have fun and be grateful and have gratitude, because that's one thing. When you communicate with your herbs, with your crystals, with the colors in nature, with everything, You'll start to feel gratitude. You'll start to feel appreciative. You'll start to feel good about appreciating those things, especially those tools. They work. They will work for you. If you have servitors, you will start to communicate with them. And everybody on the outside is going to say, this bitch just went completely fucking crazy and she needs to make some friends. That is a complete plausibility. I just don't care. I don't give a fuck. I feel way too goddamn happy. I don't feel anxious around people. I don't care enough to care. So I'm just too busy right now, like just working on myself. And it's okay if you feel like that, because I do see a lot of those conversations and I do get messages on Instagram about people's lives and stuff. It's okay if you need to isolate. Just don't feel like you need to hide away too long. Like, try to remember what the phoenix did. She rose from the ashes, and Belial told me this. The phoenix rose from her ashes because she was buried in her own shit for so long. She fucking grew from it. It's fertilizer. And it's like a really fucking absurd metaphor, but it totally makes sense, and it's totally Belial. But that's what we need to do during that time of hibernation. When you're in hermit mode, is we need to heal. We need to be grounded, and then we also need to balance that out with understanding what the fuck we are. And you know who you are. You know what you are. You know what you gravitate toward. Understand why. If you want to know all of those details, demons will fucking show you so much of the truth. You could go crazy. So just be careful with that. Make sure you're grounded. It's a very, very, in my experience, disciplined sort of path. And you also have to balance that out with just relaxing a bit. Like, not having to be so militant and so fucking check one, check two, check. Like, just know what you gotta do and relax. I might do something for Kitchen Occultist for you guys on how to start, like, witchcraft stuff. Because I get told that people need a lot of money. You really don't. I really think that I'm going to do something, because I feel like capitalism is kind of warping our minds a little bit too much. And there's a lot of young people that are trying to find themselves spiritually. And I don't want people to get sucked into thinking that you need to spend $500 in order to be a witch. Like, you just need yourself. You don't need all the fancy tools. And you would be surprised how powerful the most simple of stones will be. How that little weed that's growing in between your sidewalk could actually be something, and you'll see it differently. And when you see those small things in bigger ways, the rest of this fucking noise going on in the world, it just becomes insignificant. And I think that's the beauty of magic. We can kind of be subjective on how we perceive our own reality. And in my experience, the more that I do that, the better my reality's getting. And when I say the better my reality's getting, I also prepare for the worst with a very clear mind on most days. I try to, at least. You can't just fucking prepare for war and be sitting there waiting for it. You can't just cast your spells and be sitting there waiting for them to happen. You have to kind of coexist. You're here on a journey. Don't feel trapped. It's really hard for a lot of people. I have gotten out of crazy situations because, like, the skin of my teeth, like, really, and magic has helped with a lot of stuff. So, you will start to understand and see this life as a journey and like an obstacle, and one that you can enjoy, and you'll be more in the present. You'll be more centered in the now. You won't be stressed so much on the past. You'll heal from that. You'll transmutate that energy, and witchcraft can help with that tremendously into your present, so you can continue to manifest your future without having to stress on it. I have a future aspect of myself. I have decided I want to become a certain type of person. Magic helps with that. I also have to do all the work. Magic helps me, it co-creates with me. It helps me along the journey. It makes me feel less alone. My spiritual team makes me feel less alone. I understand why they like us a lot more. I understand what's in it for them. I understand connections with different people and different aspects, and it's really, really interesting. And when you start to see things like this, all of this other bullshit that's going on, I'm not talking about people being hurt. I'm talking about nonsense that we fucking fight about. We fight about stupid fucking shit, guys. I can't watch any video somebody's arguing. any type of workout video, some fucking guy has to say something, you know? It's always something like that. And it just makes me think we're really broken. Humanity is like turning into a lost cause. And those of us who want out of this shit and want out of being stuck in this fucking system, we just need to find that solitude in our own backyard. And I know that's hella fucking hard because look, ask if you've ever had SWAT in your fucking backyard, let me know. If you've ever had gang task force in your backyard or the fucking news, it's stupid shit, right? That's not even related to me. But like, I know some of you guys' backyards might not be a good metaphor, but it will be if you think it will, because that I don't have to deal with that anymore, man. And I had to adjust to it. It's fucking crazy. And magic really will take you on a long ride. It really, really will. You'll feel more solid. You'll feel more at peace. I felt like I was suffocating for a long time. And the more that I just released, the more that I worked with the earth, like seriously, and the planets and everything else that you work with, you really start seeing this shit as mundane. Like, yeah, we know we gotta work and we'll make the most of that. And your mental energy will start to really focus on the things you want to do. Maybe you're at like some shit ass office job and it's fucking destroying your spirit and you're just decaying by the second, you know? Every field is like that. And you really want to do like tarot readings. But you're like, I don't have fucking energy. My goddamn partner's up my ass and my neighbors are pissing me off and the car's got to go to the shop and the kids are fucking yapping about this. You have to do meetings and everything, and you don't have the mental energy for that. But if you allow witchcraft to help you with mental clarity, even that fluorite crystal can help you with mental clarity. And even if you don't believe that the crystal's doing the work, because the crystal's not sitting there going, clear your mind, bitch. Like, the crystal's there to remind you to clear your mind. And you know that it's got a vibration to it. Under a microscope, there's things moving around on that crystal. And you understand it. And as a result, you're not worried about your fucking stupid ass boss or the bitch he's fucking that thinks she's the boss now. Whatever the situation is, you don't have to, you won't even, whatever. It's not bothering you as much. So then little by little, you'll start to notice that at night, you got a half hour, you know what I mean? You're going to do that little video, you're going to try, and you might not like how you feel or how you look, but you're just going to do it anyway, and you're going to feel good about it, and you're going to slowly get out of it, and you're going to just make your life, and you won't have to worry about giving your energy away to forces that don't deserve it, because that's what's happening right now in the world collectively. Like Gen Z, trust me, I have 2 kids that are Gen Z, and they fucking just drive me crazy sometimes, but those kids have their heads on straight for sure, you know, in another sense. They absolutely do, and I respect that they have their own opinions that differ from mine too. I think that's very important, but they have their heads on clear, and they know their worth. They know that they have to put in hard work, and they got to wake up early, and they got to do all these things because no one's forcing them to. Because some of us, life like lit a fire under our asses, right? Now we're like, oh my, what the fuck? This sucks. And magic helped us. Magic helped us navigate it, and we became stronger, more resilient. Some of us too wound up, you know, from it. And we're trying to relax now. And a lot of kids these days, they got to build their own fire. I tell them, life was a bit easier for you, and that's not to invalidate anything that's big to you. That would be not to me. You have your big feelings about things, and that's absolutely valid. However, if you wanted to fucking have a fire to get to the point that you want to be, this version of yourself, you have to make sacrifices. And you're going to have to become and show up. And if you need magic to help you with that, it'll remind you. Because it will. If you work with demons, they will remind you if you're getting off track. If you have a servitor in your environment to help you, you know, remind you that you should be writing for 15 minutes a night because that's all you got, but you keep putting it off, and I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow. That servitor is going to nag at you, and it's going to start forcing you to get to your computer or your phone and write your poetry or whatever it is that you want to do. And the more that you become a poet, the more that you'll want to share that, the better you're going to get, and then you're going to start doing that. You're going to have the confidence to move up, and that servitor will help you along the way. So see them as focal points. See things in magic as focal points, and understand they understand what you're feeling. There is, sentiency to, is that even a word? I feel sentient energy in a lot of things. Obviously, plants and crystals, they do. They're alive. But there's microorganisms in them. There's movement in there. Treat them as such. And that doesn't mean you got to be all fucking weird about it. You know what I mean? That just means that you know that it exists and it's there and it comes from the earth, and you're grateful that you get to have these experiences and understand this. I got to really understand this energy because I got to experience it, and it's really nice. I love the ethereal feeling of gypsum and selenite. It's really one of my favorite stones. And I just really feel drawn to it. I feel calm around it. And then also black tourmaline is one of my others. And when I put them together, right, if I put one in front of the other, I'm trying to do this right, you feel that it blocks the energy just because it's black and black absorbs, and we know that with color theory. And then this feels very cleansed. You have that ethereal feeling behind it, so you understand what it's doing because that's how you're perceiving it. Therefore it is. And therefore you'll be. So that's witchcraft. So, thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm going to wrap it up for now. And I think I'm going to make a video for you guys soon for Kitchen Occultist about getting started, because I have been seeing this a lot and it's been kind of like bothering me because it's not expensive to be a witch. You don't need all the fancy things. You don't need the, fancy aesthetics or anything. Like, if you want those things, use witchcraft in your environment so you can acquire them, and you'll be able to. Because you should absolutely be able to enjoy beautiful things too. You don't need to feel bad about that. So, all right, everybody. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.